So I think while we wait for these documents to be signed and get everybody in line, I think it maybe is not really appropriate to take questions. I'm meeting with, as you know, a couple of Democrats in a little while about the country, about keeping our country open. They're going to have to do some things because their ideas are not very good ones. They're very bad for our country. So we'll see how that works out. But this is something that was really historic today. This was something that was amazing. I think, Bibi, I mean, depending on you, I think while we're waiting for signatures and waiting for approvals from a lot of different countries that are involved in this, we probably shouldn't take questions? Or would you like to take a question or two from perhaps a friendly Israeli reporter, if there's such a thing?
That's a very, very tough proposition. But I would think, Mr. President, that I would go by your instinct that this is, we'll have enough time for questions. Let's settle the issue first, I think.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, so there you have it, the much anticipated meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Donald Trump. And yes, the ball is now in Hamas's court because they have to agree to this decision. As part of the plan, Trump says Hamas tunnels, production facilities will be destroyed. It would also involve training local police forces, and the Israel Defense Forces would withdraw from Gaza in phases. The threat of Hamas will be destroyed, he says, and Netanyahu would have Trump's full backing to do what he has to do. So again, the ball is in Hamas's court as we speak right now. And the president didn't begin his speech by saying that peace in the Middle East has now begun. Netanyahu agreed to the plan. This is according to the president when he began his speech. We have begun a new chapter for peace in the region, and this is not just for Gaza, but the whole region, which includes countries like the UAE, Qatar, Israel, Iran, and the list goes on. Demilitarizing Gaza is one of the jobs that Arab nations will assist in, and Hamas has to accept that. Israel forces will withdraw in phases, like I mentioned. Tyranny of terror has to end for eternity. That's according to President Donald Trump. The Board of Peace will be established, responsible for recruiting and training Palestinians in governing Gaza. And then Netanyahu said, I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, in the Middle East and beyond. Netanyahu went on to say, winning the war and expanding the peace is our goal. Security responsibility for Israel, demilitarizing Gaza and disarming Hamas will be our top priority. The security perimeter for the foreseeable future, will still remain for Israel. All the goals have to be achieved and the job must be done if Hamas rejects the proposal. Let's talk to our correspondent Susan Teherani. She's now joining us live on phone. Susan Teherani, much anticipated talk between the Israeli Prime Minister and the US President Donald Trump. It has just completed right now, and like I said, and like Donald Trump said, the ball is now in Hamas's court.
Yeah, you know, Eric, it's not hard to assume that really President Trump was not only talking to the world, but he was also directly to a way talking to Hamas or whatever of Hamas's leadership that's left right now. Remember, Israel has taken out so many of these senior members of Hamas that one has to wonder who's making the decisions for Hamas at this point. but they put Hamas in a very tight corner because on the one hand, they said that, you have to accept these terms, and one of the terms is to disarm, which, Hamas is a militant group, so it's going to be very hard to imagine if they do. And then if they don't accept this peace plan, President Trump said in front of the world that Israel can then do whatever it wants in Gaza and have the full backing of the United States. So there doesn't seem to be any viable option for Hamas right now. What is clear is that there is going to be this 72-hour pause, and that will probably give Hamas time to respond and also Israel to reevaluate the situation. But nonetheless, it seemed that the two leaders were on the same page, and they put a lot of the onus on those Muslim majority countries and the Middle East countries that President Trump met with their leaders on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, and for them to really take a pathway and a new way forward as well. So they framed this agreement as basically all of the Palestinian territory's neighbors, all of Israel's neighbors, the Muslim countries, in every context that you can think of. President Trump in particular was saying that everyone agrees with this plan. Hamas, now you have to reply. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens indeed. Susan Tehrani, stay with me. There's some sort of commotion behind you. I'll get back to you in a short while from now. Let me just reverberate what the Prime Minister of Israel did say during this press conference. He said that Palestinian Authority can have no role in Gaza without having a radical and genuine transformation. This could be peace in the entire region. We can expand the Abraham Accords, or like both of them said, Abraham Accords, to many more Arab countries. We will never forget October 7th. Since October 7th, Israel's enemies have earned a hard truth. Again, I said to the Prime Minister of Qatar, we regret the loss of a Qatari citizen, appreciate the trilateral body between Israel, US, and Qatar. It is not yet clear which Arab nation will be handling Hamas, because according to the President of the United States, he has left the onus on the Arab or Muslim nations to handle Hamas and to disarm them and to have a demilitarized Gaza so that this board of peace can be established going forward, which will be headed by the President of the United States. And he says that former Prime Minister of Britain, Tony Blair, had asked Donald Trump to be included in the board. And after this board completes its work, then the rebuilding of Gaza begins. Once again, as part of the plan, Trump said Hamas tunnels and production facilities will be destroyed. This is very important. It would also involve training local police forces, and the Israel Defense Forces would withdraw from Gaza in phases. The threat of Hamas will be destroyed, and he has asked Netanyahu to complete the job if Hamas doesn't agree to the peace plan, or to the 21-point peace plan that he has proposed, which Netanyahu has agreed to. And he has also said that Hamas needs to listen to the people of Palestine in order for peace to prevail. And he actually said tyranny of terror has to end for eternity. This according to the President of the United States. Susan Tehrani, I hope you're still with me. She's still live in New York. Susan, the President of the United States was very passionate about this establishment of a board of peace, which he says that he's busy, but he will find time to sit at the board and discuss Gaza. That was very interesting.
Yes, because, as we were discussing, Eric, a lot of the onus is now, and possibly responsibility, and this may be an opportunity, is being put on the neighbors of Gaza and Israel to sort of not only hone in to what happens to the future of Gaza, but also when he talks about the Palestinian Authority, this is a very weakened government, if you can even talk about that. They exist, but to what extent they really have the power to govern, that's another story. So this sort of coalition that he's hoping to put together with the United States, with the help of the United States, may be the only hope for peace in the Middle East, because then you see that these countries also have a stake in what's happening directly.
And it's also the president also included these other nations. He said that Europe did also play a big role in establishing peace or in the talks between them and the Israeli counterparts. He also mentioned other countries like Indonesia, which played a key role in establishing peace in the region. You know, his inclusion of these other countries, including the Arab and Muslim nations, as he mentioned, or as he called them, is quite significant because he's given them the honors, like you mentioned, of demilitarizing Gaza and disarming Hamas. Quite a tall order.
It's a tall order, and while these countries, they may support some kind of redevelopment, who wants to take responsibility for Hamas members or deploy troops to Gaza? I mean, that would be possibly some of the plan, that there's some kind of coalition troops going there. He did mention Europe because he knows that if he just frames this plan as a Trump-led initiative, it could alienate EU partners as well as to alienate the United Nations, even parts of the Arab League. And so when he makes it a multilateral buy-in, it makes it harder for them to sort of not agree to it.
We will be waiting for some of the reactions after this press conference between the United States President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And it looks like a done deal. Now the ball is on Hamas's court. Will they accept the proposal, or will they say or reject some clauses in the proposal? We'll have to wait and see. But according to the president, he says that if they at all reject any clause in the proposal, then they will have 72 hours to present all the hostages, whether alive or dead, back to Israel, and then they can work out the proposals that they feel are not right. But once again, after much hue and cry, this has been done. There has been an agreement that has been set between Israel and the United States, and now Hamas will be playing the deciding role here. Susan, finally, what do you foresee? All right, I understand that we've lost our correspondent, Susan Tehrani, in New York. But once again, if you're just joining us, this was the much anticipated meeting between the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the President of the United States, where the President presented his 21-point peace plan to the world. And he also thanked member countries or neighboring countries of Israel, which include the Arab nations or the Muslim nations, for playing a big role in fomenting peace in the region, where he says the tyranny of murder, the tyranny of killings, the tyranny of terror should end for eternity. And he says that he is there for peace, and he will always be behind Israel no matter what. But if Hamas rejects the proposal, then Netanyahu has to complete the job. All right, so the Board of Peace will be established. This is one of the key points that the president made there. He will chair the board, which will also include the former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, who asked the president to be involved in that board. Now, the board will be responsible for recruiting and training Palestinians in governing of Gaza. And the president did say that there are many Palestinians who want to live in peace, but they need to take responsibility for their destiny. Palestinians have had a rough life with Hamas. But if they do not agree to this plan, Trump adds, then they will only have themselves to blame. You are watching WION The World is One.